Hello, everyone. Hello, Professor Mbele's YouTube channel. I'm Sophia Schillinger, a previous student of Professor Mbele's, Professor Joseph Mbele. And yes, we're here at St. Olaf College, and we're going to be doing, well, first I'll let Professor Mbele introduce himself.
Thank you. So, you've mentioned my name, Joseph Mbele. I am here in the English department since 1991. And before that, I taught at the University of Dar es Salaam in the literature department. So
we're going to do a video today about, actually, a video was sparked by a comment on Professor Mbele's recent video, When Africans Call African Americans White. I think that's what the title is called.
The title was When Africans Call African Americans White People.
Yeah. So someone said, someone made a comment saying, it sounds like Professor or Joseph Mbele is speaking like a colonizer. In my mind, that sparked the idea of, or do you want to give a summary of that video?
I was trying to calm down African Americans who feel offended. When Africans call them white people. In East Africa, the word for white person is mzungu. There are other words in other parts of Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, Senegal. I don't talk about those because I don't know these places well enough, but I can talk about the East African people who speak Swahili. I'm a Swahili speaker, so I was talking about the East African side of things. Again, somebody had said on my YouTube channel that she had some Africans, not all, some Africans calling him Mzungu, and then she said, "It is so sad." That touched me. So I wanted to address people like that who are saddened or made miserable, or who are irritated, because I do care for people's feelings, and so I created that video explaining the nuances, trying to talk about the contexts and the intentions and the ways in which the word Mzungu is used. And I really wanted to say, calm down, is not really intended in a bad way. Depending on the context. And I explained that the people there, they look at the way you talk, the way you do things. There are distinct differences, and they mark you out as not from there. So it's really a neutral reference in that sense. I was trying to explain this. I talked about different dimensions of it.
So I think, when I saw the comment, when I was watching that YouTube video and I saw a few comments, and Professor Mbele has talked to me about this before, and I've read about it too online, about Africans calling African Americans white people, especially with the book Dilemma of a Ghost, right?
Yes,
that's in that book.
The Dilemma of a Ghost. We read that in our class.
But I think the question brings up, or the idea brings up a good point of that these type of race distinctions were imposed onto Africans and African Americans. So what I was curious to hear your thoughts too, Professor Mbele, and maybe others in the comments, not that they are mutually exclusive, you can't do both at the same time, but should we be working within the system and try to, talk with people and be like, oh, here's what this means, or should we be trying to abolish the system altogether that has imposed these race distinctions on African and African American people?
Yeah. Yeah, I see your point, and I definitely agree with you. These are impositions, and in a certain way, they are quite arbitrary and irrational. I need to say they are irrational. There is no human being who is white. Think about it. Think about the color white. There's no human being who is white. Think about the color black. Really, really. Think about the color black. I have not seen a person who is really black. That's why I say the categories are irrational. You probably have heard, the word yellow. It's used for some Oriental people. Yellow.
They're not yellow.
So it's really crazy, and as you say, maybe we should be thinking about abolishing these ways of classifying people. maybe come up with something more reasonable. I don't know. I've heard some African Americans, I think, refer to white people as pink.
Yes.
Have you heard that?
Yeah.
They use the word pink. I mean, it's not really accurate either, but I endorse the effort to look for alternatives.
Yeah,
that will reduce or eliminate the polarization and, well, it's not animosity, but there are a lot of real issues that come out of it. At the end of the day, I wonder if we could create a system or develop a tradition where our children are taught to just look at human beings as human beings. Can we teach people to be colorblind? There's the phrase colorblindness.
Right.
Is this too far-fetched? I don't know.
So there's a thing, and like we talked about this in my race class, and that colorblind, while it's a great idea, it also, I think I agree, colorblind is great, but it also doesn't incorporate the beauty and differences. I think we need to make people see that difference is actually beautiful, the fact that we look different. And that, have you heard of the saying, you can't take down the master's house with the master's tools?
Sounds familiar.
But what?
In fact, there are sayings which say the same thing exactly. You cannot solve a problem using the same methods or perspectives that created the problem in the first place.
Yes. So instead of like the problem in the first place is that people see difference. So I think
variety is the spice of life.
There
is that phrase,
variety is the spice of life.
And I guess maybe what I should say, and I think we'll agree, it's great that we come in different colors and shapes and body sizes and things like that. Maybe we should create a system where from childhood we get our children to appreciate the variety. Again, using the principle of variety is the spice of life. In East Africa, I'm glad you are going, you're planning to go. In Tanzania, there is a great writer. He passed away long ago, 62 or something, 1962 or something. The greatest Swahili novelist.
Wow.
His name is Shaban Robert. the greatest Swahili novelist. He was a novelist, he was a poet, an essayist, he was all kinds of things. There's a poem he wrote celebrating diversity.
Yeah.
And he was focusing on women, there's a big-sized woman, there's a slender woman, there's all kinds of shapes and all this, and he brings out the beauty, the uniqueness of each, and just ends up with a picture of a beautiful combination.
Wow. Yeah, it's hard to think about, but to see someone as different and don't see it as a threat to your own beauty.
Right. Yeah, for you to be confident in who you are, be proud of who you are, and just embrace, your identity.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the concept of color blindness. I don't even know if it is possible to be colorblind. I mean, recognizing what is there in front of you. I don't even know what people mean when they say, I am colorblind. I don't think it's even possible unless you are really blind.
Well, I'm taking a cultural anthropology class, and this is what I think has really created a lot of the issues about with the industrial age, which I think racism didn't come with the industrial age, obviously, but it was becoming really intense then because of these new electronics that made us very aware of ourselves. You're able to see a photograph of yourself. You're able to see yourself on your phone. So constantly seeing how you're different than everyone is not like, imagine not having a mirror, or imagine not having this laptop where we could see that. We see how different we are from each other, instead of focusing on community and not even the idea of an individual. Oh, but back to the cultural anthropology class, we read about this this group in Papua New Guinea, this village, and they didn't even have photographs. Photographs, phones didn't exist. They didn't have any mirrors, and so this ethnographer comes in and he takes a picture of an individual and shows the picture to the guy, and the guy's like, "Who is that?" And he doesn't picture himself. He doesn't recognize himself. Now, I'm not saying we need to go back to that, but if we don't have this constant way to look at ourselves, constant way to recognize, always be seeing what we look at at every moment, hyper focus on the self, we might not be, you might be able to think more communal and more.
I guess it's a matter of interpretation, and I think that's where culture comes in. Cultures assign maybe meanings to colors and shapes and all kinds of things. And there's a lot of ethnocentrism involved, in the sense that people who look a certain way, people who are a certain color, assuming that that's the norm, and everybody else is outside the norm, and that's where this notion of, they are beneath us, they are, not as good as we are, that kind of thing. And that creates a very interesting problem when I think about my own heritage. As an African in that part of the world, Eastern, Central, Southern Africa, our languages are very related. They are called Bantu languages, Bantu. And then the word Bantu is based on the word Mtu. Mtu means a person. The plural is Watu. And so we define ourselves as Watu, Bantu. The issue is that it seems as if we are defining ourselves or seeing ourselves as the real people, and everybody else out there, there's a suggestion of that.
Of the real
that,
Africa.
Yeah, that we are the norm, that we are the center of the universe. Of if you look at human race as a universe, then we are at the center of it. And so when Europeans came, when people came of a different skin color, I guess, again, this is something to investigate. That's when the Africans there saw the difference, and then they named this strange looking person, Mzungu, these strange looking people, because the Europeans were the strange ones. They got the name Mzungu. Yeah.
Interesting.
Somebody should study this in more detail to see how it came about. But the Africans really perceived themselves as the real human beings,
and
the norm.
Wow.
Oh yeah. And any color outside of it, it was outside the norm. Yeah. So there is that thing that, again, as you say, the anthropological side of it. Somebody should investigate the origins of this. Yeah. And in fact, later in college, we talked about development, underdevelopment, colonialism and imperialism, and they used the idea of we are on the periphery. There's the center, which is Europe, and then they called us, and we called ourselves the periphery. Nowadays, I've been challenging this because when I go to my village, everybody there thinks and feels like we are the center.
Yeah.
When I was a young boy, after 4th grade, my father took me to the city that was nearby. Well, not near, about 70 miles away, something like 70. I was going to boarding school. The moment of parting, the moment when we were saying goodbye, he told me, Joe, you should know that you are free to go anywhere for your education, even America. He said that.
Wow.
Clearly, the people in my village think of America as at the edge of the world, at the end of the world. In other words, our village is the center of the world, and America is this distant place like outer space somewhere there.
Yeah.
So, my point was simply that it seems the awareness of the color of our skin has led into all kinds of things about who we are as us, and then there's them over there. The us versus them.
So that makes me think of this is an anthropological study too. I don't remember what it's called, but it's like, do you think whether it's if it's socially constructed or it's biological? So is the other complex where you are the norm and the other, no matter how much, no matter what society you build, is that biological, that humans just want to create the other?
That's very interesting.
It's a very good question. Are humans doomed to fail?
That will be the next question. Coming logically out of the first one. And it gets to be very scary. It gets to be very scary. Are we predisposed to be that way? Because now the danger would be if somebody's, because we are talking about race now, if somebody's racist, where does that come from?
Because
if the Africans called the Europeans Wazungu, keeping them at a distance or recognizing the difference, and in a way suggesting they are not normal. Isn't that scary? Isn't that scary? And back to your question, is it just human to be that way, to feel that way and think that way? That's very scary.
I think we'll never know, because I don't think we'll ever.
How do we deal with difference? if we go back to our original question, could we condition ourselves differently in terms of the labeling? Because now we started off with the idea of Africans calling African Americans white people.
Yeah.
Is there a possibility we could actually eliminate the labeling while we actually see the difference? How do we resolve that? Could we could we pretend that the differences don't exist or they don't matter? Maybe what we should do is create a system or a tradition where we teach the children differences don't matter. They are there, but they don't matter.
Or that the differences are actually good.
Mm-hmm.
That
yes.
Like the fact that you and I don't see time the same way brings new perspectives.
New perspectives. Yes. And in fact, in these days, when we talk about diversity, one of the arguments is that bringing people of different perspectives, different cultures, you are bringing a lot of richness there.
There's richness, exactly.
If there is a problem, this person will have a different way of solving it or of seeing it. That person will have a different way of seeing it. You may end up actually benefiting.
Yeah.
Because you draw from all these different perspectives. Maybe we could use this as a model, a starting point for the kind of education that should be happening.
Yeah, and this goes back to your video on diversity in the workplace, which I think is a very real issue now. Specifically, I don't want to say any names, but I don't want to make any specific details, but I work at St. Olaf's cafeteria. That's the college we're at. And there's people from Vietnam, there's people from Ecuador, there's people from Northfield and all over Minnesota who have Latino heritage. They speak mostly Spanish. There's people from Brazil. There's people from all over. And so it's a ton of diversity. There's also students. There's also adults. So it's just really a lot of people. And sometimes there is fights. I mean, not fights, but there is like
disagreements
and misunderstandings.
Misunderstandings,
that turn out to and if you guys don't know what the cafeteria is like, but it's very stressful. There could be 1,000 students in there at one time. I mean, or not 1,000, a few hundred, but 1,000 total that for that dinner shift. So it could be really stressful, and you don't want to have these misunderstandings during a rush period. So the question is the diversity the problem, or is, the workplace itself the pressure? Should we be thinking about, diversity as a weakness or?
That's very interesting. And that's one thing I highlight in that video of mine. And some people have completely, been disappointed that I did say what I said. Because I was saying, conventionally nowadays, people think diversity is great and so on, bring everybody at the workplace and so on. And in that video, I was saying, we are inviting problems. We are inviting problems, and we need to just be aware. And therefore take necessary action. You have this person from another culture and another person from another culture, and they are together. Don't assume things will work out fine. Establish the system of teaching and learning about cultural differences and interpreting the behavioral differences so that it could be part of what you do in that workplace. I guess that way we can minimize or perhaps preempt some of the conflicts.
I definitely agree, but I definitely agree that needs to be done, and I don't think that's definitely not done at the cafeteria here. People join one day, the next day they're thrown into work because people are. What is our company out for? They're out for profit. They just want the money. I mean, they just really want the money. They don't care about the workers. So do you think in our current capitalist society, a vision of yours where people learn about different is possible? Is that possible to?
That's a very interesting question. In fact, in my own work as a cultural consultant, I have listened to people do diversity training. You know, people give talks about diversity and all these kinds of things. People from companies. And that has bothered me when they come out and say, oh, diversity is so good, we should have people of different perspectives, and it's good for the bottom line. They use that phrase. They are trying to appeal to these companies with the argument that you can actually enhance, you know, the productivity and the profits. That really bothers me, because honestly, I'm pursuing these issues because I think it's great to be, you know, in peaceful relations with fellow human beings.
Yeah.
I'm doing it for the sake of us as human beings,
Yeah.
so we can be happy in each other's company, so we can enjoy the diversity again of our cultures, not necessarily tied to the issue of profits.
Yeah.
Companies, so these people, these diversity people, they appeal to the company on the grounds that you will make more profit if you harness the diversity. Now, this is not consistent with my focus on just the beauty, the value of us as human beings, and the value of human relations without the profit motive. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned this. I'm glad you talk about, you raised the question whether we can, you said the company, they just put people together and get them to work.
Could they create a society where money is not the focus? Is that possible, to create a harmonious training for a workplace, or to create a workplace where someone doesn't feel exploited?
That's the thing. And one of the dangers, you initially started by saying or suggesting or implying, you know, the future of work is a big issue, and robots are going to come in and do the work. And it seems to me capitalism is already using human beings as if they were robots. Already.
I feel
before the real robots come out of the factories.
I feel used. I feel used as a robot at my work. I do. I mean.
Yeah. So maybe we should pick up this topic another day and talk about robots. And how we humans are steadily becoming robots.
Yeah. And
how does that sound?
That sounds great. And
what's the future of human beings?
Yeah.
Lord, that's crazy.
But
should we stop here?
Yeah, I think that's
because we said we want this to be a short one.
Yeah.
And we have not solved the problems of the world.
And we can't.
We're just sharing ideas here. So
please write down what you guys think. Maybe we could do a live stream sometime.
And save us, because we are lost. Maybe the audience will have answers for us. Okay, that was nice. Kwaheri.
Kwaheri.
Goodbye. That's goodbye in Swahili.
Yeah.